This is Jeremy Hales reporting live for WTH-TV, the biggest news story to hit your screen. There's more twists, more turns in this legal battle than you could have ever imagined. There's so many plot twists in this case, it's unbelievable, and how it all ties together. And that's what we're gonna do, try and tie it all up in a nice, neat package. We're gonna look at all of the major players. We'll get to LIEnette, we'll get to the Crook, we'll get to Judge DeThomas's, but first let's look at LIEnette's attorney, Josh Silverman. Oh, no, actually, let's look at his wife, who was the attorney for DCF, Department of Children's Services, who was then fired, let go for child abuse. Now, this is a well-known story in this area, and I'm going to share it with you as well, but let's back up just a little bit. LIEnette was begging and pleading to anybody and everybody for money for a lawyer. Now remember, she's the one that took this to the courts in the first place, begging and pleading for an injunction, and she got denied and denied and denied. And then Judge DeThomas's gave her a hearing, which then Judge DeThomas's spent almost 2 months trying to get me paperwork, even though he declared in the hearing in Florida that he could get paperwork to anywhere on the planet. He just couldn't get me served in Ohio, even though LIEnette posted my address, my phone number. Crook posted my address, my phone number, all over the internet for the world to see. And yet he couldn't get me paperwork. And then when we get here to Florida, we're finally in court and everything goes crazy, which you would expect with a crazy individual. There's no doubt whatsoever. LIEnette and Crook are mental to the extreme. But to then come and bring it into a court, and then LIEnette is begging and pleading for her own attorney as if she's the defendant in this case and not the plaintiff. It's pretty easy. All she has to do is bring forth evidence. And yet she's only talked round and round and round in circles in a kangaroo court. Judge DeThomas's has yet to gain control over this woman, has yet to gain control over his courtroom. He allows her to do whatever she wants, say whatever she wants. And now she's brought in Josh Silverman. Now, specifically, as she begged and pleaded for donations, she unblocked everybody in her life, including family and everybody else, every bridge she's destroyed. She's begging them for money, and then somebody actually comes through with money. But LIEnette's not sure which attorney she actually wants. LIEnette is bouncing back and forth between Silverman, and who wants $7,500, and another attorney who wants $4,000. Now she wants to go with the cheaper attorney. Now I can share with you that LIEnette was acting as her own attorney. No, wait, I take that back. Judge DeThomas's was acting illegally as her attorney. Completely and totally. Not okay. Not okay. At a bare minimum, it is unethical, and at its maximum, illegal. So let's get back to Silverman. Silverman says, yep, I'll take the case. Now, LIEnette tried to get somebody else to take the case, but they'd already talked to me about defamation. And this is huge in this case. There's a huge plot twist about defamation that I'm going to be sharing with you. And there were so many attorneys that I already talked to about taking on a defamation case against LIEnette and Crook. But Silverman had never talked to me before, who happens to be best buddies with Craig DeThomas's, the judge. This is well known. But I'll digress as we get back to Silverman's ex-wife. And you said, wait, ex-wife? Yes, it was Craig DeThomas's, Judge Craig DeThomas's, who resided over Josh Silverman's divorce with his ex-wife. And wouldn't you know, her name is Karen. For once in Florida, it's not a Michelle. He had problems with a Karen. Now, here's the deal. Karen here was an attorney for the Department of Children's Services. It was her job to protect kids. Department of Children Families fires Gainesville attorney arrested for child abuse, February 23rd, 2022. A Gainesville attorney stands accused of hitting and choking her child. Alachua County deputies charged Karen Silverman with felony child abuse. The Florida bar lists Karen Silverman as working for the Florida Department of Children and Family Services. Her LinkedIn account lists her title with DCF as a senior attorney. As Alachua County deputies arrested Silverman at 11:40 p.m. Tuesday night, but the incident happened the morning according to the arrest report. The defendant was upset that the victim would not get out of bed and go to school, the arrest report says. The sheriff's office says Silverman was on her child's bed, tried to slap them, missed them, then tried to hit them several more times. The victim said she was struck at least 2 times by the defendant. The defendant then got on top of the victim, placed 3 fingers around the front of the victim's neck. The victim advised that the defendant was choking her, the arrest report says. Silverman is charged with child abuse without great bodily harm, which is a felony, according to the arrest report. I observed injuries to the victims that were consistent with the victim's statement. I observed a scratch on the front of the victim's neck that's in the shape of the fingers. I also observed red marks to the victim's left leg, and the victim said she was struck by the defendant, the arrest report says. Jail records now show Silverman was booked into Alachua County Jail at 12:30 a.m. on Wednesday. CBS 4 called and left a message with the Department of Children and Family Services Wednesday morning, which they responded. We've received your request and are processing it, a DCF spokesperson said in an email. And now there's an update on 2/25. A Department of Children's Service family spokesperson says that Karen Silverman no longer works for DCF. The employment of Karen Silverman has been terminated with the Department of Children and Families, a spokesperson told CBS 4. This is how crazy this area is. The person that is actually supposed to be protecting people is the one harming them. And you're going to see this happening again and again in this case. For example, you would think a victim's advocate in Levy County Courthouse would actually be about protecting victims, but that's not the case with Amanda Martin. As we've already shared, as there was a bomb threat during the 3rd hearing, she comes out and she makes the nastiest faces towards us. She makes the nastiest remarks to our lawyer, saying, how in the world could you represent that blankin' bleepin' blank? This is an individual that's supposed to be taking care of victims? Now, it's all starting to make sense. If you remember the underwear bandit, I'm sure many of you do, which is another name of Michelle in Levy County. Michelle McCain, previous realtor, now known for recreational pills and strong drink, and doing very foolish things, such as this.
Kind of hard. This one here. Every time I pull it up, she's in her bra in pain.
That's what I'm to say.
Yeah, she's definitely drunk. Once she seen I was filming, she started running back to the truck.
Yeah.
And you'll see her truck in just a second when it comes by.
The gate's been destroyed.
Keep in mind, LIEnette actually posted all over Facebook that Michelle McCain broke through my fence with her truck because I was in an intimate relationship with her and that I no longer would be with her any longer. I've never met this woman before except to actually call the sheriff on her. You understand this is defamation. There's a difference between defamation and truth. You say, Jeremy, well, you tell us things about LIEnette all the time. I tell you truth based on facts that I can prove. She says it and presents it as fact. That's defamation. This becomes extremely important because I'm going to talk about the defamation lawsuit here in just a little bit. Some have even reported to us and shared screenshots of LIEnette stating that I've made passes on her. She wishes. And that's her MO. When she doesn't get what she wants from you, first she's a victim of you, and then it goes on to adult, intimate relationship allegations. I don't know if Silverman knows what he's gotten himself into, but he's not going to be victorious. His name will be slandered by LIEnette all over the internet. Want to guess who the victim's advocate was on my part? You realize I was the victim of a crime and I should have been compensated to repair the gate that she crashed through, then tried to load up in her truck and take, which, by the way, she's now posting that she has my sign that she stole as well from my fence and stating that she wants her dignity back. This is a woman that has absolute no dignity whatsoever. And I also think Amanda Martin lacks dignity, integrity, because this is an individual that was supposed to be an advocate for me. A crime was committed against me. And when it all comes down in the end, guess what happens? The courts actually release Michelle McCain, the underwear bandit, and they state she's not competent for trial. And guess what happens with me? Nothing. I get a letter from the victim's advocate. Now, if the victim's advocate is speaking into the ear of the judge, which they do, and if the victim's advocate is 100% a bigot towards Northerners, probably racist towards an interracial relationship, just doesn't like that somebody from up north is actually telling the truth and may even be related to some of the individuals here, and all of a sudden, my advocacy is what? It's absolutely nothing. There is no advocacy. To the point where now she thinks if she changes her Facebook profile, which she did with a fake name and different pictures, that she's off the hook. This is an individual that is supposed to have the highest integrity and is supposed to be an advocate for victims. Now, LIEnette is a victim. She's a victim of her own foolishness, of her own pathological lying, of her own neglect, of her own abuse. Now, I'm a victim as well, per the court cases. And you know what's happened so far for me in Levy County? The victim's advocate has attacked me. I want to clarify, just because somebody has been heartless or attacked us doesn't mean that anybody should ever attack them. That means nobody whatsoever. This is the story, and it is a news story of my life, and it's for accountability. You realize we don't have to film good things from good people. We have to film for accountability's sake. And that's one thing we're finding that these people absolutely do not like. Accountability. Whether it's the victim's advocate, whether it's Russ the Sus, whether it's the judge who's now doesn't want us sharing any deposition or any court hearing, which we do have court hearing number 3 now, and we do have court hearing number 4. How? We're not going to share that with you yet. But when we release it, we will. We're just not releasing it as of yet. But nobody should contact anybody in regards to this. You allow us to handle it legally. You allow us to handle it with the victim's advocate, boss, and employer. You allow us to handle things with LIEnette and with Crook, with the court system. You get to be a spectator, and you can learn from all of this as you see corruption in your own hometowns and how to fight it and how to correct it. Because if everybody just did the right thing, including the victim's advocate, if she just would have shut her mouth and did the right thing, if she would have just been pleasant to all people that she exists to serve, then none of this would be recorded right now. Let's get back to Silverman. $7,500. To the point where Crook is on Facebook and LIEnette is messaging everybody saying, we are selling everything. If it's not tied down, it's for sale. Here's a bird, rabbit, well, Crook says it best, whatever you want to call it. Just trying to get rid of it for $50 on Facebook. Not sure exactly what it is. And why? Why would they be scrambling? Well, I think this message says it best. She's privately messaged family and friends begging for money. She's even messaging HG's family members, who she previously blocked, stating she needs to raise $7,500. She said JH's new lawyers are very, very dirty. He seemed very clean, smelled fresh, everything. Clean cut, does everything by the book, everything by the book. Oh, and if anything happens to HG, we'll go to John. Wait, now hold a second. This is the same John who she claims is an abuser. How in the world does this make any sense whatsoever? HG will go to John and her sister, but she's trying to get her grandson and his fiance to take her. She doesn't have anything formally done yet. She's trying to get that done too. Why make plans for the future such as this? Because she knows she can't escape the inevitable. She knows everything her and Crook have done, and she knows that she's going to be held accountable now. Now, it may not look that way right now under Judge DeThomas's reign in the courtroom with kangaroos bouncing around everywhere, but ultimately the camera is accountability. She can't get away with it. Judge DeThomas won't be able to get away with it. And ultimately, she knows what's going to be her fate. So much so that she does hire Silverman, Josh Silverman, who is a criminal attorney, from my understanding, out of Gainesville, which is interesting because if there's criminal charges against LIEnette, she actually had some foresight for the future, understanding that there is going to be criminal charges against her. Let's see what people say about Josh Silverman. But before we do, you also have to understand that Silverman and Craig DeThomasis are like this. Now, you know Silverman didn't want the divorce broadcasted all over in the local news, just like the arrest of his ex-wife was. So he has his buddy Craig reside over that divorce, and you can't find really any information about it. Seems to us it could be sealed, maybe not. But let's see what other individuals actually have to say about Josh Silverman in Gainesville. From what we're reading, we pretty much see he has little man complex. Silverman was the absolutely worst attorney ever. Biggest waste of time and money. Didn't show up for planned meetings after I shifted my day around to meet him. I usually wouldn't post on Google, especially about a company, but this was truly one of the worst experience I ever had, so I needed to share. Okay. I went in for a consultation and Silverman did not impress me. Seemed to be knowledgeable, but he didn't want to see my side of the story. Wanted a $5,000 retainer, which seemed really high. I don't think he would have fought for me at all. And you know what the most funny part is? Silverman, Josh, actually responds. This is like tit for tat. This is like toddlers going back and forth. Silverman says, your review appears to be based on a single free consultation you had with my office. While I regret you did not like the advice we discussed, a negative review seems inappropriate. Listen, you have any idea, Silverman, how many negative reviews that we get on a daily basis? Do you even understand how many death threats we get on a daily basis? Not because of us, but because of LIEnette and Crook. As a matter of fact, I could scroll through person after person after person who's created hate pages, who's created defamation pages, who's created and said and did. And here you are, an attorney, knowing that you are a public figure as an attorney, and knowing that people are going to leave you reviews, and you have to go in there and you have to argue with them. Listen, just leave it alone, man, and go on with your day. It's immature and it's beyond childish. In LIEnette's Facebook, standing in her trash, remember, she posted, I just want to make this statement and make it very clear. Neither John Crook nor myself are in jail or have any fear of going to jail. That doesn't sound like an individual who's out begging for money and making plans where a child is going to go when she does go to jail. Very, very contradictory. As a matter of fact, she dirty deleted that. Now, you also understand that we have thousands and thousands and thousands of screenshots of all the things she's dirty deleted. As a matter of fact, it even came up in Ohio court where she said, Your Honor, I'll give you my phone right now. You can go through all my Facebook. You'll never see it posted there. And the judge goes, I don't care about what's on your Facebook now. I care about what was posted then. Obviously, LIEnette isn't all that genius as much as she thinks she is to think that she's going to somehow get one over on a judge and go, oh, I didn't delete it, even though we have every screenshot that she's ever even posted. Oh my goodness, I can't imagine what goes through this woman's mind. We even have a screenshot of her admitting that she's deleting it so that she feels better. Let's look at a few more reviews just for fun. I gave this firm 1 star just to be able to make this post. If I could give them a negative 10 stars, I would. They make you drive 1 hour and they say, oh, I'm sorry, I can't take your case. I wouldn't recommend this place to anyone. Very rude people. Look at this. For $5,000, $5,000, the retainer's gone up for LIEnette. You get no answers and they never call you back. Don't waste your money. I do not recommend this company. Unprofessional, overpriced, and rude. And then what does Silverman have to do? He has to respond like a toddler yet again. This firm never represented you, sir. This negative review is inappropriate. Listen, just get on with life. People are gonna say what they're gonna say about you. Could you imagine what Silverman is gonna say about this video when I'm telling you all about him and his connections and his relationship, his ex-wife, his divorce, his buddy Craig DeThomasis, and sharing his reviews? You think he's gonna have a response? Regardless on how he responds. Jimmy Fountain right here says, this man is a liar, will not do his job as a lawyer, doesn't care about his clients. He'd throw you under the bus so he doesn't actually have to do any work. Never hire this man for anything. You will only get screwed. Let's turn the page to the next chapter. Judge Craig DeThomasis, who for many years was a defense attorney and as a matter of fact was an adjunct professor. And now I have a kindred spirit with him because I have also been an adjunct professor. I have not kept that up to this point, but my students could get a master's in organizational leadership, Christian counseling, Christian education, all accredited. So I understand the professorship, and I understand that as we're in his courtroom, that teaching seems to permeate the courtroom as well, and he forgets he's not in the classroom, he's actually in the courtroom. It's not a time for teaching, it's a time for justice and law. Craig DeThomasis actually runs for judge. But here's the thing. One of his students beats him in the race. And you want even a bigger plot twist? I'm not sure you're ready for this one. Judge Craig DeThomasis has a YouTube page. Can you believe it? And he used it to run for judge. Look at this. This is the man that's actually attacking your freedom and every YouTuber's freedom. Let's see what he has to say.
With a strong commitment to our community and justice, Craig DeThomasis has represented citizens of Alachua County for more than 35 years.
Okay, all right. 35 years.
Because of his decades of service to the community, Craig DeThomasis is endorsed by the North Central Florida Police Benevolent Association and the Fire Rescue Professionals of Alachua County.
That's a lot of people backing him. He didn't win.
Please visit CraigForJudge.com.
Political advertisement paid for and approved by Craig DeThomasis for Alachua County Judge.
It was approved. It was approved, paid for it and approved by Craig himself. Let's see what else is on here. I think there's more. Yeah, let's check this one out. 5 years ago as he's running for judge. Here we go.
Hello, my name is Craig DeThomasis.
Hi, Craig.
I'm running for Alachua County Court Judge.
Okay.
I've been a resident of Alachua County for 42 years.
All right.
And throughout that time, it has been my privilege to serve the members of our community in their time of need.
I have some needs, Craig.
I've advocated for the rights of individuals and have advocated for justice on their behalf.
Rights of individuals? Justice?
Upon the next generation of young lawyers, their need to dedicate themselves to professionalism, ethics, and respect.
Ethics?
As a volunteer, I've served the needs of our community, raising money for veterans of the armed forces, serving on board of directors to help the needy children of our community.
We help needy kids.
I'm proud to have earned the respect of the many colleagues of my profession and to have earned the endorsements of many organizations who are likewise committed to serving the needs of the members of our community. I hope to earn your vote and serve as the next Alachua County Court Judge. Political advertisement paid for and approved by Craig DeThomasis for Alachua County Judge.
All right. Well, he lost. As a matter of fact, I got a feeling he's probably pretty bitter about that loss, as he talked about ethics and taking care of the needs of the people. I've seen none of that in the courtroom so far in regards to my needs or ethics, that as he's stripped away and he's taken away my legal rights of freedom of speech. And as a matter of fact, he pointed it out very clearly to me. Mr. Hales, I need to make this very clear, that I must take what the petitioner said as truth. It is the law. Okay, well, here's the law. You can't take away my freedom of speech, even though you did it. You are the man that failed to get the judge position as you weren't elected, but then was appointed as somebody else stepped down, and you were supposed to protect those freedoms for all individuals. And instead you attacked them, knowing that you were a man that was supposed to have integrity, knowing that there are needs of people, and yet you tried to silence the First Amendment right of the world. Literally, no, I'm sorry, Judge. It's not the world. The planet. You attacked the legal right of the planet, stating that, well, there is no case law in regards to this yet. You wanted to create that case law, to create a name for yourself. A judge that failed to get elected was then appointed later in a dire need situation in Levy County. You wanted a name. Attacking the First Amendment rights of the planet is not the way to make a name for yourself at all. As a matter of fact, if you wanted to make a name for yourself, you should have actually protected the First Amendment rights. And yet here you are still leaning towards that complete and total liberal side of attacking. And you're saying, okay, well, how did the Thomases get in that position? Well, there's a great story that all ties in with that as well. My lawyer, who was representing me in regards to the lawsuit against the town of Otter Creek for the records request. Remember, one lawsuit of very, very many that can follow. And LIEnette probably is already aware there's another one that's followed her. She should have been served yesterday. And if she wasn't served yet, she will be very, very soon. So all of a sudden, my lawyer, who was the judge, steps down in the middle of the night. No explanation, nothing. He steps down. There's an emergency in Levy County. Now, Craig DeThomasis is a well-known deadhead, and so is our governor. They love the Grateful Dead. Even though they have drastic political differences. The governor is very conservative. DeThomasis is very liberal. But the one thing they see eye to eye on, the Grateful Dead. And so the governor puts his buddy in that position. And now our fundamental rights are being attacked. I have 70 acres right here. Actually, a little bit more, closer to 71. And where does LIEnette and Crook live? Right here. Now I have an access point to my property right here. I actually have another access point right here. Crook and LIEnette are right here. I have an access point right here. There used to be 3 homes right here that I have not have access to right now because Judge Craig DeThomasis illegally has taken away all my access. And I have more access right here. You understand, I own more property on North Otter Creek Avenue than anybody else. And where's LIEnette and Crook? Well, they're right here with 1.66 acres, right across from my access where I had 3 homes. Now, first, Judge DeThomasis took away my legal right of speech. Then he took away my legal right to access of all of my property. Now, some of you will probably understand this is all virgin timber, and there's a ton of brush in here. There is no other way to get here except from the road. So as I fought him in hearing number 3 about illegally taking away access to all of my property, because he said I had to stay 500 feet away from their property, which would have taken all of this property out of... Listen, a judge has no authority. Even though that judge feels the God complex in that courtroom, that's the only authority they have in life. And the judge oversteps the bounds quite often. And he did then, and he continues to do, because he will not allow me to drive up and down my road. No, what he wants me to do is go out here on Highway 19, go all the way around, all the way over here. And why is that a problem? I'm gonna show you. It was here at the post office just under a month ago where I walked out and a vehicle flipped 3 times in the air as parts and pieces were hitting me in the face. They got T-boned right here in this intersection. Just walking at this intersection, I almost died. Last week, they did die. There were 3 explosions. They shut down the entire intersection. There would have been no way legally I could have even gotten home if I wanted to, based on Judge Craig DeThomasis' declaration of whatever he's making me do in his crazy mind. This intersection is so dangerous that we went ahead and got back in the truck for our own safety. Now you may be thinking, what's more dangerous? Driving by John and LIEnette's? Well, I'm gonna say that is absolutely dangerous, the firearms. But I would actually put my money on an individual on pills and strong drink, not even being able to hit the side of their own barn with a firearm as I'm driving by with the protection of a vehicle versus all of these missiles coming at me 80 miles per hour. And here's the funny thing. He's not okay with me driving by their 1.66 acres, but he is okay if they're here at the post office and I drive by them. So what if they're parked here at the post office and I have to drive by them every morning, every night, every day to get home? Seems to me like this philosophy and logic he has in his mind is completely and totally foolish. Is he thinking, oh, Jeremy's going to film him? Well, what's going to stop George from filming? What's going to stop Deanna from filming? Nothing, because they have a legal right to for their own protection. The same legal rights that Judge DeThomas's actually took an oath to protect here in this courthouse. And yet he has the audacity to tell me that he must take the word of the petitioner as truth because that's the law. Well, this same petitioner, LIEnette, has stated in her petition that John Crook is an abuser. And here's where they typically park, right here. And yet we have not seen Judge DeThomas's take any action on a abuser with a child in a vehicle. Do you see him protecting me? No. Do you see him protecting George? Nope. Do you see him protecting a child? No. But he's taking all these things as truth because it's the law. Well, the law is that they have to be 500 feet away from us. As a matter of fact, they've been cautioned. They have all of the paperwork. This is 500 feet of caution tape that George and Deanna actually measured out. So let's find out from where we go in over here to where they've been parking right there. Let's see if they're actually following the law. 500 feet right there. Now it's time to stretch this mess all out. I've got tons of extra sheriff caution tape right here. Tons of it, which would go straight into the actual courtroom. Let's find out. Were they 500 feet away? More than evident. They have not been anywhere near 500 feet away. But let's look at where John moved to last time. Was that far enough? I've stopped here at the T in the road because John parked right there. Now remember that huge bundle that we still had. I didn't want to put caution tape across the road in case somebody had to drive through because unlike John, I'm not going to block people. He was nowhere near 500 feet away, even when he moved the truck. For someone that ran a campaign to be elected as a judge that said he wanted to help the needs of the people, to protect the people, to do things that are ethical, we can see that he cares less about the protection of myself, of George, or even a child. This civil protection order in Ohio means absolutely nothing to him. Now remember, he paid for and approved that message. He used YouTube to try and get elected. Now I want to be very, very clear. I'm going to use YouTube to make sure he does not get reelected. And I paid for and approve this message. The most mind-boggling part of all of this, I'm currently at $61,000 in legal expenses. That's not travel. That's not meals and gas and all of that on the road. That's just pure legal expenses. And it's more than that. And I see no end in sight just for fighting this injunction in Florida. And it's an injunction, the simplest legal thing in the world, which has become a fight for the freedom of speech. I project we'll be at roughly 150,000 because this thing isn't going to end on March 1st. And then we already know what he's going to decide. It will then go to appeals and it will go further. And you know what that's going to do? That's going to put a real damper on restoring the love. That means we can't help people who lost their storage units and give it all back to them. That means we can't help orphans in Egypt or kids going to camp, or we can't. Christmas in the Creek, literally Christmas in the Creek 2024 is in the limbo right now because this is not the first lawsuit. There's another lawsuit and there's going to be more to follow, and this all takes money. But here's the positive thing. This very well could be the biggest Restorage the Love project we've ever done in our life. If at the end of all this, a child is saved, a town is saved, and animals that are neglected against their will are saved. The next lawsuit, Craig DeThomasis will be residing over as well. It's unfortunate, but that's his job in Levy County. You remember all of these signs that went up all over Otter Creek where they called me the Ohio rapist? Well, I'm going to share this with you because LIEnette already knows about it and Silverman already knows about it. And let me say one positive thing about Josh Silverman. He is the only individual in the world that has gotten this woman to actually shut up, both online and physically around town. So I have to give him props for that. Although she did post this morning about bats, but I digress. All these signs go up all over town. There's 11 of them. They're double-sided. They're saying very, very defamatory and derogatory things about me. And you understand, a female making this accusation about a male can destroy his entire reputation, his entire livelihood. One false allegation can destroy you for life, truly for life. And not only was there one, there was 11 double-sided. Now, we know that LIEnette was the one that was writing half of those. And there's another individual that was writing the other half. There are two people. We also know where they were purchased and are in the process of getting her actual receipts for purchasing them in the courts to show as proof. So, who's the famous person coming to court? Well, that famous person has been on a lot of law reality TV shows. And that famous person will be in court and is a handwriting expert. And now, since we had hearing number 4, her lawyer now knows, she now knows, and I guarantee you she is so far backed into a corner and so scared because she knows she wrote half of them. Now, we think we know who wrote the other half, and we're still working on it. We've actually analyzed the handwriting of every resident of Otter Creek and different addicts that were in and out on their property. And we've got it narrowed down. And you can be assured that, number one, I'm going after everything this woman owns in regards to sanctions, and Crook in regards to sanctions. You know who I feel the worst for right now is the complete and total fool who has not only given LIEnette $10, $20, $50, $7,000, not knowing that she's been lying to them the entire time, and knowing that she's going to court for other things, knowing that she's guilty and without a doubt will be found guilty. You've got an expert witness coming in who's already drafted her entire report, and they will have a copy of that report, and they have every right to have a copy of that report for discovery. And that report is 100% conclusive that LIEnette Preston put these signs and wrote these signs as they were placed all over Otter Creek. I'm going after her for absolutely everything. This is the same woman who stated, let me get it right down here. I'm looking at grants. My daughter gets Make-A-Wish. If I had my way, I'd be alone on this property with just my child. Hopefully one day God gives it to me. It's my dream to live here peacefully with her. She's literally, there's more. There's absolutely more. So LIEnette's no longer looking for grants. Here we go. I don't want to, well, I will share. LIEnette's no longer looking for grants to help get John off the property. Is she going to let the child use her Make-A-Wish for herself and not remove John from her life? 2 months ago, that was her plan. You realize this woman posted on Facebook that, number one, the child gets a Make-A-Wish. Now, I'm not sure how a child of that lack of seriousness in regards to, she has a dietary issue, gets a Make-A-Wish. So number one, I think that's a lie. Number two, LIEnette's plan was to use the child's Make-A-Wish to remove John from her life for good. That was her plan. Publicly posted, and communicated amongst her and her other friends. We'll call that one friend Sharon, because that's her legal name. Oh my goodness. Can you imagine the horrificness of this woman wanting to use a child's make-a-wish to remove somebody who she claims in legal paperwork is abusive, but she can't leave that child with anybody but him. And if she goes to jail, the child goes to him. How in the world does any of this make sense in this individual's mind? The same woman that posted this in her standing in her trash site. You see what it says right down there? Children should be free from, what is that? Rejection, ridicule, criticism, anger at the home. They deserve to grow up in an environment of safety, acceptance, and warmth. The exact things that this child is not receiving. And as you saw, just a sliver, a portion of the deposition, this child is living in rejection, ridicule, criticism, and a tremendous amount of hate and anger every single day. But then she wants to post that this is how she's living, in warmth, safety, acceptance. It's all a lie, coming from a person with diabetes, the one, the only, LIEnette. Remember, DeThomasis is camped on this indirect contact. You mean like the indirect contact that we've gotten from individuals based on LIEnette? Horrific things being written. Here's, oh yeah, Sail Away, the fake profile. By the way, we know exactly who Sail Away is and is mentioned in court and will continue to be. Let's just go further down. What about Marla Hughes and everything she did to disrupt Christmas in the Creek? Post after post after post after post after post. And I can keep going and going and going. Yeah, she's going to be held liable as well. All of these individuals, all of these people reaching out. I've got literally death threats. You want to see one? There it is, right there, from Florida. And why are they communicating with us? Because of everything they've seen from LIEnette and Crook. So really, I should be filing for an injunction on them based on indirect contact to then have a third lawsuit in the system right now. Oh, there's going to be so many more. John Crook's deposition is now scheduled for February 9th at 1 p.m. Now, he's been scheduled for depositions twice so far. Dodged it, stating that, well, we'll leave that one for later because that's an issue for the courts. And then second time, dodged it as well when LIEnette got a lawyer that represents her. Hold a second. You mean Crook doesn't have a lawyer representing him? No, absolutely not. But Silverman says, nope, no depositions. And then we go into court for hearing number 4, which you will see in the future. And Silverman states if he's properly subpoenaed, not only was he properly subpoenaed already, he was court ordered by the judge in hearing number 3. Silverman wants to do my deposition on February 16th in Bronson. So I don't know why he doesn't want to just do it over the computer, but hey, in person will be even more fun. As a matter of fact, they don't want to film it. But guess who does? I do. You're going to get to see it all of it. As a matter of fact, I'm going to share some personal information with you right now in regards to LIEnette. This is something LIEnette did to another individual. And I'm going to skip over names, but this is a report to Children's Services. And here's what it says. All right. The child reported that LIEnette hit her in the arm and left a mark, and that LIEnette kicked her, pushed her, pulled her hair out. The child said that LIEnette told her that she could not go to school or group therapy. And it goes on and on. It gets worse and worse and worse. LIEnette stated that her other daughter was calling her psychotic and crazy. Fair warning, get ready to vomit. LIEnette said she had hit her daughter, but said it wasn't hard enough to leave a mark. When LIEnette was told that Children's Services was involved, LIEnette responded by saying they can just take her. Remember, LIEnette used to go by Lacey, and to this day, we have found 39 aliases. And you want to know why she keeps changing her name? Because of this. So, it says here, this is a psychiatrist. You have to understand, this is a doctor psychiatrist stating this about LIEnette, all right? I strongly feel that LIEnette's parenting has worsened the child's condition. I'm positive in this environment the child will continue to deteriorate. This is a direct result of LIEnette's parenting. LIEnette denies any issues with her parenting, blames the child for all the issues. However, I've personally witnessed LIEnette yelling at the staff, cussing, projecting, blame for missed appointments on the staff. This literally says that LIEnette is the worst parent she has ever seen. She is belittling, demeaning of the child in front of the staff. I feel that LIEnette is capable of putting on an act when needed to try and convince theatrics that she actually cares about the child. You realize this is what she does with social media. She says one thing, oh, we're not scared of going to jail, but your deposition shows the other thing. This is 100% narcissistic traits and behavior. An act is what she put on for Judge DeThomas's, stating that she was paralyzed to her property. And yet, then she goes on to put in her interest for the town council seat right there. And she files a motion asking Judge DeThomas's if she can run, and if she does she gain or does she lose the injunction? Wait, I thought you were paralyzed. Oh, by the way, all these ridiculous motions is exactly what our handwriting expert needed to incriminate LIEnette. Let's not forget, on January 20th, she said she would drive up to 100-mile radius to marry people. You know, because she's a minister. Oh, as long as you give a donation for the turtle sanctuary, which is a purgatory. But hold a second. I thought she was paralyzed to her property. LIEnette has shown no desire to change her parenting or regret for the damage that she's causing the child. I strongly feel that the system has let the child down by continuing to expose her to the extreme chaos and abuse. I don't see LIEnette meeting any of the child's emotional needs. And further, I'm sure she's making the child even more psychiatrically ill. This isn't a case about an injunction and 500 feet away. This is a case about free speech and saving a child.